2016, London, Wembley Arena, 16,000 people on their feet, screaming. But this wasn't a concert, and the person walking onto that stage wasn't a rock star. She was a woman who had built an empire out of nothing, or more precisely, out of a lie. Her name was Ruja Ignatova, born in 1980 in Bulgaria, a country still shaking off the weight of the Soviet era. Her family moved to Germany when she was a child. She was brilliant, obsessively so. Oxford University, law degree. Then McKinsey, one of the most prestigious consulting firms in the world. On paper, she was the kind of person you'd trust with your life savings. And that's exactly what millions of people did. In 2014, Ruja stepped onto a stage in Singapore and made an announcement that would change everything. "You have heard of Bitcoin," she said, "but you haven't heard of the coin that is going to kill Bitcoin." That coin was OneCoin, and her pitch was almost perfect in its simplicity. Bitcoin, she explained, was complicated, hard to buy, hard to understand, slow, expensive. OneCoin would be different, faster, simpler, more accessible. The cryptocurrency for everyone, not just tech people or Wall Street insiders. But here's the part that really hooked people. She told them they were early, not just early like a few months before everyone else, early like the people who bought Amazon shares in 1997, early like the people who got Bitcoin at 10 cents. "The train is leaving," she said, "and you either get on it now or you watch it leave forever." So people got on, everywhere. In Uganda, teachers pooled their salaries together to buy in. In rural China, farmers sold livestock. In Germany, retired couples handed over their entire life savings. In the United States, nurses and truck drivers and grocery store workers wired thousands of dollars to an account they'd never seen. Why did they believe her? Because she was convincing in a way that's almost impossible to explain unless you've seen it. She didn't just give speeches. She performed them. She wore designer gowns. She commanded stages like a conductor commands an orchestra. She had academic papers. She had testimonials. She had a glossy magazine called OneCoin Magazine, and her events weren't like financial seminars. They were rallies. They were revivals. People wept in the audience. People stood up and shouted "thank you" to a woman they'd never met. One attendee later told investigators, "I felt like I had been chosen, like she was letting me in on a secret the rest of the world didn't know yet." That feeling is exactly what she was selling. Between 2014 and 2017, OneCoin collected somewhere between $4 and $15 billion. Depending on who you ask, it became the largest cryptocurrency fraud in history. Larger than Madoff, larger than Enron. And Ruja was right at the center of all of it, smiling, waving, accepting standing ovations from people she was quietly robbing blind. Now let me ask you something. What makes a cryptocurrency real? The answer is a blockchain. A public, transparent, tamper-proof ledger where every single transaction is recorded. You can't fake it. You can't edit it. You can't make coins appear out of thin air. That's the whole point. OneCoin had a blockchain. At least, that's what they told everyone. In 2017, a group of independent researchers and journalists started asking questions. They wanted to see the blockchain. They wanted to verify the transactions. They wanted proof. What they found was a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. I want you to sit with that for a second. Billions of dollars, millions of investors, 150 countries, and at the core of the entire operation, a spreadsheet. There was no blockchain. There had never been a blockchain. Every transaction was simply a number typed into a table by an employee. If you wanted to create 1,000,000 new coins, you just changed the number. That was it. But it gets worse. OneCoin didn't just sell coins. They sold educational packages, training courses on cryptocurrency and finance, bundled together with tokens that could be used to mine OneCoin. These packages were priced anywhere from $100 to $100,000. The courses inside them, plagiarized, copied from free materials available online. In some cases, they were pirated versions of content that had nothing to do with crypto at all. And the tokens? They could only be used inside OneCoin's own closed system. You couldn't cash them out on any real exchange, because OneCoin was never listed on any real exchange. When investors asked why, they were told, "We're still developing. The listing is coming. Just be patient." Patience is a very useful thing to ask for when you're running a fraud. The people who first started sounding alarms were called jealous. They were called haters. They were called people who missed the train. And the true believers, the ones who had put in their life savings, they didn't want to hear it, because hearing it would mean admitting that the dream was gone. This is how Ponzi schemes survive long after they should have collapsed, not through clever accounting, but through hope. Then, in 2019, everything cracked open. Ruja's brother, Konstantin Ignatov, was arrested at Los Angeles International Airport. He was the man who had taken over running the company. And when federal agents sat him down, he talked. He talked for months. And what the FBI learned was chilling. OneCoin had been a deliberate fraud from day one. There was no plan to eventually build a real blockchain. There was no roadmap to legitimacy. It was designed to take money and disappear. The inner circle knew, the top promoters knew, and they kept quiet because they were getting rich. Court documents later revealed that hundreds of millions of dollars had been laundered through shell companies in Dubai, Belize, Germany, and Hong Kong. Ruja herself had allegedly moved over $230 million through a single account in a matter of months. $4 billion gone. Some estimates say much more. And the woman at the center of it all? She was already somewhere else. October 25, 2017, Ruja Ignatova boarded a Ryanair flight from Sofia, Bulgaria, to Athens, Greece, and then she vanished. Not disappeared, for a few days vanished. Not lying low, vanished. Gone. Completely. Without a trace. The FBI had been watching her. Wiretaps were active. Agents were monitoring her calls. And somewhere in the days before she boarded that flight, someone tipped her off. Someone inside the investigation. To this day, nobody knows who. Interpol issued a red notice. The FBI added her to their 10 most wanted list in 2022. A $5 million reward was put on her head, and still, nothing. Theories started emerging almost immediately. Some investigators believe she's living under a new identity somewhere in the Middle East, possibly the UAE, where extradition agreements are complicated. Others point to connections with Bulgarian organized crime figures who have the resources and the networks to keep someone hidden indefinitely. There's a darker theory, a theory that says Ruja never made it very far, that the people she worked with, the criminal networks she used to launder billions, eventually decided she was more useful dead than alive. Investigators have never confirmed this, but they haven't ruled it out either. In 2019, a BBC journalist named Georgia Catt produced a podcast called The Missing Crypto Queen. It was downloaded over 20 million times. People all over the world became obsessed with finding her. Amateur sleuths, former investors, journalists, Reddit communities. Nobody found her. Meanwhile, The victims are still waiting. Some have spent years in court. Some have lost marriages over the stress. Some have never spoken about it publicly because the shame is too heavy. A retired nurse from Scotland invested her entire pension, £70,000. A small business owner in Nigeria borrowed from relatives to buy in. Families in Pakistan, in Vietnam, in Brazil, still checking the news every morning, still hoping that somehow, someday someone will find her and bring the money back. Most of them know, deep down, that money is never coming back. What makes the OneCoin story different from other financial scams isn't just the scale, it's the mystery. Bernie Madoff was caught. He confessed. He went to prison. Elizabeth Holmes stood trial. The story ended. But Ruja Ignatova, she's still out there, somewhere. And until she's found, this story doesn't end. It just keeps going. If you made it this far, drop a comment below. Do you think she's still alive? Because I genuinely want to know what you think. And if you want to be here for the next one, you know what to do.